So the other day, Team APS, a wonderful Yu-Gi tubers that I have followed for quite a long time now, posted a picture on their social media of the card Spiritualism, saying how it was brought to his attention this weekend that it was actually a very good, spicy tech strategy, or tech card rather, that ended up helping fend off against strategies that would search and then set a card, such as Salamangreat searching Salamangreat Roar and then setting it, or Orcust searching Climax and then setting it. This made me realize that someone out there looked at this card that is almost over 16 years old and thought it would be good to use in 2019. And this brought up an interesting topic to me that I've actually, as well as many other Yu-Gi-Oh players, have tried to do, and that's look at older cards and try to see if you can tech them into the strategies you use in today's time. We've seen it with cards such as Vanity's Emptiness and Upstart Goblin, where they just all of a sudden one day became meta-defining and game-breaking almost, just from being found and dug up from the dirt of the past. I'm JC Theater Yu-Gi-Oh! And today I'm going to go over my top 10 cards that I thought would one day become some spicy tech choices that never did. For number 10 on my list, I have Caligo Crowclaw. This level 2 Dark Wing Beast special summons itself out onto the field if you control a dark monster. And you can only use that effect once per turn. And that's it. I thought this card would be good because it is dark after all, and there are quite a lot of decks that use dark monsters, and of course it gets you a free body. Sadly, a lot of competitively viable dark decks don't really need to rely on this random outside support in order to do something. Additionally, other than being a free body on board, it doesn't have any other utility. Level 2s are in a weird place Xyz-wise as well, due to the rank 2 pool not being generically the best, and so here we are. A random level 2 that gets you one step closer to Wee Witch's Apprentice, I guess. Number 9 on the list is Next to Be Lost. This trap card lets you send a monster from your deck to the graveyard, with the same name as a monster you control. In theory, this card may be pretty good when you want to load up your grave with things like Destrudo if you have one on the field and want to set up your grave for the next turn, I guess. Ultimately though, this is too slow and too specific to get the job done, but I always used to think that there was some way to abuse this as badly as Foolish Burial is abused today. For number 8 on our list, we have Metabo Globster, which is a level 3 Dark Fiend who special summons out 3 Dark tokens if he's tributed for the tribute summon of a Dark monster. The issue here is that any deck I can think of that will cohesively already have Dark level 5 or higher monsters that need to be normal summoned won't really have any use for the tokens except for doing more tribute summons. And that's just too slow and too unreliable for a card that looks like that. Number 7 is Dark Designator. Dark Designator is a normal spell that lets you announce a card in your opponent's deck, and if it's in there, your opponent adds it to their hand. One glaring flaw of this is the fact that you are minusing a card in your hand in order to give your opponent a plus in card advantage to their hand. The use this card may have in my naive eyes was to add Gemknight Garnet to my opponent's hand in order to have their Brilliant Fusions be unusable. Now, as Brilliant Fusion is limited, the very niche utility of this card is even nichier than ever. Some people still play certain strategies such as Utopia Double or a small Shaddoll engine, which may still lead to this card actually crippling those effects, but ultimately, this is just not worth the benefits your opponent immediately gets from you potentially undermining an engine that they may never draw into. Null and Void is number 6 on our list, and is a trap card that can only be activated when an effect to draw cards is activated. Both players get to see any of the cards drawn by that effect, and then those cards are sent to the graveyard. Mistake is a continuous version of this card, and unless you want to somehow send what you draw to the graveyard with some fringe Burning Abyss deck with back row, I doubt you care to run this over Mistake. It's a good card in theory, but with so much searching happening over drawing in certain decks, this card's one-time use is only ever effective in a vacuum rather than execution. Number 5 on our list here is a quick play spell known as Rebellion. During either player's battle phase, it allows you to take control of one monster your opponent controls, but other monsters you control cannot attack. I find that this card would be good to take a strong monster from your opponent during their battle phase, so they either have to destroy it or wait until the next turn when they get their monster back, potentially allowing you to survive another turn. There are even shenanigans on your own turn where you can take something strong and kill your opponent or your opponent's monsters with it if it's powerful enough. Ultimately, there are just better traps such as Manhunt for your opponent's turn, and for your own turn, usually summoning high attack monsters isn't too difficult in 2019 with all of the strong and powerful extra deck monsters at one's disposal. Number 4 is Timidity. This is a normal spell that prevents either player from destroying set spell or traps until your opponent's next end phase. I always thought this could be a cool tech in like Paleozoics or an Altergeist, but ultimately preventing back row destruction isn't too much of a positive, since usually people don't side too much of it unless we're in formats where back row heavy decks are reigning supreme. This is ultimately just a win more card where it doesn't help you advance at all, it just keeps you in the advanced position of the duel you're already in. I still feel like it may be used one day though, it's just waiting. Timidly waiting. Number 3 is Curry Photon. This little guy is a hand trap that prevents FTKs. As a quick effect, you can discard him and pay 2,000 life points to receive 0 damage for the rest of the turn. I first started hearing about this card during the Danger FTK times, and I'm sure it's been brought up during past FTK rampant formats as well. I really like this card, it's just that its biggest strength is to fight off against something that 1, shouldn't exist in the first place, and 2, will actually defeat you if you don't draw one of the 3 copies of this card from your deck. Number 2 is the card Pop-Up. This is the poor man's Demise of the Land. This quick play spell lets you activate a field spell from your deck if your opponent has a card in their field spell zone. This is niche for the reason that not all decks play field spells, and it's never good to run a card relying completely on your opponent doing something. But as we see with many decks, field spells are commonplace with a lot of archetypes, especially meta-relevant ones. So this is on a far more viable side than the rest of the cards on this list for sure. Number 1 on this list is none other than 2 cards. Yes, my choice for number 1 is the use of Condemned Witch and Aurora Paragon. So the 2 card combo you can make here is to summon Condemned Witch, and then on your opponent's turn, after they normal summon, use her quick effect to tribute herself and special summon out Aurora Paragon. Aurora Paragon negates either player from special summoning, but is destroyed once someone normal summons. By summoning her out after your opponent normals, they either have to wait until your next turn for you to normal summon and break the curse, or they have to go to battle phase and destroy Aurora, and then in main phase 2, start their extra deck plays. This combo has a lot of flaws, and there's a reason why Vanity's Emptiness is banned but these cards are not. The fact that you need Paragon in the deck, the ability for your opponent to just destroy her, and even just the simple fact that this more than likely will use up a normal summon, all don't matter to me. This is number one because when looking at this on paper, it's just so good that I want it to work more than anything. But alas, there's a reason this is on my list here instead of on a topping deck list somewhere else. Thank you guys so much for watching. I think of so many random cards and I kind of want to make this a series. I'd make each episode like not good stun cards, ways to prevent burn, cards good against only very niche decks. As you can tell, I already have some cards and ideas for these, so hopefully you like this video. If you do, let me know by pressing the thumbs up and make sure to subscribe. We're very close to 300 now. I'm JC Theater Yu-Gi-Oh! And I appreciate you guys. See ya!